Exciting weekly webinar. We've got the big NFT that we're going to talk about going live tomorrow in Tampa. A lot to cover. Very exciting webinar. I'm excited to be part of it. 3 really powerhouse guests. So I'm going to start off quickly. Everyone knows Natalia, the CEO, founder, genius behind Propy. But real quick, Eric and Jason, if you want to give us maybe 2 minutes on kind of who you are, what you've been up to, and then we'll kind of get into NFTs and real estate. Jason, go ahead.
Sure. So I've been in real estate for over 6 years now. I started sort of on the commercial side, wholesaling, and then I got into the retail side. Past 2.5 years, I really got into crypto and I really embraced it. And I see how much it translates to the real world and just everything we're talking about here today. So I'm really excited to be here. I'm really excited to share everything I've learned and my expertise and my vision for NFTs in the future, and just the massive impact this is going to play in the real estate game in the future.
Very well. Eric?
I'm a self-proclaimed recovering music executive. So I come from the music space. I'm an award-winning entrepreneur, blockchain technology entrepreneur. I've actually developed technologies in the blockchain space. And for the last 10 plus years, I've also been a licensed real estate agent in Florida. And I've been fortunate enough to catch the wind of all the people relocating here from within the blockchain crypto industry. And I've been fortunate enough to represent them in most of their real estate transactions in Miami. And I believe based on the amount of transactions that I've done, I've actually done most of the crypto transaction. Like I'm the #1 transaction crypto real estate agent in the country, to my knowledge, from what I've been able to see.
Yeah, I can absolutely confirm that. Eric and I, we've been in a number of panel discussions regarding blockchain and real estate. Fantastic rock star, developer, builder, real estate agent, fantastic addition to this industry. So who is not following Eric yet, follow him on Instagram. And thank you, Jason. Thank you, Eric, for being here. As tomorrow we're having this historic moment, auctioning out the first ever NFT for a residential property. And I'm sure you guys and those who are listening on Twitter and our attendees here have tons of questions, whether it's a real property, is there like just a JPEG, a picture there, or real home ownership transfer? How is it done exactly? But before we get into how we're gonna do that tomorrow, Jason, Eric, would you like to give like your 2 cents on why do you think it's important? Does it make sense to bring real estate into NFT? What's the benefit for the consumer?
Yeah, so absolutely. So how I like to start this whole conversation is just, here's what's happening now. We've lived in the paper world for a long time, and now we're transitioning into digital. So now we are transferring our value in paper to now in digital. So it's the same value, but now it's digital. And now how powerful that is and how easy that is to transfer and collateralize and do all these different things with that value now on blockchain in different protocols. It's incredible, like what is actually going to happen once people start to realize how they can take an asset as a property and their equity and now collateralize it to gain other assets, have yield on it, have residual income on this stuff. So that's kind of how I like to start it. It's just like, everyone's so confused about it, but it's really just, it's a transfer of paper now into digital. And the use cases are now immense because of it.
Eric?
Yeah, I concur with what Jason said. First, I want to congratulate you, Natalia, for being literally the first company in the world to NFT a real property in America. I mean, that's a huge accomplishment to you and your team. And as a fellow entrepreneur, I know what it took to get here, and I didn't want to do it, and I'm glad you did.
Thank you. Yeah. You definitely could, with all the knowledge you have and the mindset of a builder, for sure.
Yeah, people think that these type of transactions or these type of things that we're doing as entrepreneurs like happens overnight, and it's happens way longer than what people think.
Years of work of tens and hundreds of people.
Yeah, and then everyone tries to like knock off your idea and think they can do it better. That's going to be fun for you in the future. Everyone's going to follow
I'm
your.
already like seeing those conversations from some real estate influencers saying yeah, it's like it's clear, it's a standard now, you know, to get an LLC and then it's attached to the NFT, like as if this concept has been there for years.
Yeah, I was going to say that if anyone's considering doing and NFTing their physical property, and several people have asked me for that. Several of them are probably listening on this call. I always say just go to Propy. I mean, they're setting the trend. Like, why would you go to someone else who thinks they know what they're doing? Propy actually has done it and knows what they're doing. With that being said, following what Jason said, I'm really excited because for the first time ever, we are able to create scarce digital assets where the value transfer happens transparently via computer code, which is essentially the blockchain, and where the ownership of that value transfer occurs in a transparent manner, again, on the blockchain. And you're taking that and putting it into the physical space. I'm really excited. So essentially, I think that NFTing the property is going to allow for the value transfer or of ownership between the property to be an easier process than it is now. A quicker process than it is now, meaning the new owner of that property in Tampa will be able to transfer it when they want to sell it in an easier manner to the next owner of that property. But I also think that you're going to be able to collateralize or put up your NFT, which represents ownership in that property, and take a loan out against that asset in a 24 to 48 hour process, which if we were to do a home equity loan today in the traditional space, it could take, 30 days to, XYZ amount, much longer, exponentially longer to get value out of that asset. And to me, whether it's art, whether any type of asset, if you're able to provide liquidity for that asset, there's a real value proposition there. And Propy is setting the trend. You're setting the trend in doing that. That's what I'm really excited about.
Fantastic. Thank you, Eric. Before I get to the next question, I'd like to mention a couple of items here. So first of all, we're going to have an AMA on Twitter Spaces at 7 p.m. EST or 4 p.m. PST. So anyone who is willing to join as a speaker or just a listener, make sure you get there. We're going to address all those questions, how exactly it works, what's the process, and so on. And then secondly, to update you what's going on right now. So right now, the auction page is live. The KYC process, the page is also live. Anyone who is willing to participate in the auction tomorrow can subscribe, sign up for our subscription page on propy.com, and then you'll get a link via email where you go through the KYC process, a 5-minute process, and it's the only bureaucratic moment of the whole process. And once you're KYC, you can participate in all our upcoming NFT auctions in the future. It's only one time when we need to identify who is the person behind the wallet, and we're doing that so we're compliant with the current regulation, and so that you can claim, yes, that's my home. My name is Adam Brown and I own this home. So that's the reason we need to go through this process. And again, it's super easy. Our team made an amazing job on making it very, very smooth, user-friendly. And then tomorrow, those of you who have connected their wallets, they go through the verification, they can just start bidding. The bidding process is in Ethereum. So make sure you get Ethereum if you're bidding. If not, you'll be able to also receive a link just to observe what's going on, how many bidders there are. You probably have seen a number of articles stating that we have 2,000, 1,000 bidders, 7,000 bidders. So I want to bring some clarity here. We have around 2,000 people subscribed for the auction. Whether to observe or participate, we don't know. And then over 30 people go through the connecting of their wallet to the bidding process. I know the majority of bidders will actually do that last minute, but because it takes some time, we really encourage those willing to join the bidding process to do it today. And the auction will last 7 hours. It starts at 10 a.m. EST tomorrow. And I think that's the major details. The upcoming ones will accept also USDC, that is upcoming in March. So Jason and Eric, what do you think, what are the most often questions you get asked when it comes to real estate NFTs?
So it's pretty simple. Why should I do this? That's the bottom line question. Why is it beneficial? And if we could talk about that, I guess, why it's beneficial.
You might answer, Jason.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like Eric and I have been saying, the process is a lot easier. I think one of the brilliant things too about your process is how you're front loading a lot of the things that can prevent a transaction from happening, as far as the inspection, as far as the title stuff, all that preparation prior, and then having the auction and have the property sell and be transferred instantly. I think that's incredible for any buyer, any seller. And then having the ability to now have residual income off of that, off royalties in the future, and then just having that equity and collateralizing that to now invest in other properties. And now just think about how easy and how much more a property is now able to be transferred and sold. I mean, it's creating a whole marketplace for trading real estate as we would trade stocks, other cryptos. So it's creating this whole new opportunity for homeowners to now acquire a lot more assets. And that's kind of just like the basics right there. That I've been explaining to people, and I was actually on a call with a client who are about to hopefully actually do his property, NFT it, and that was something that hit home with him. It was the efficiency of the process, how the process is front loaded to ensure that the transaction happens with not a whole lot of hiccups, and then just the idea of having this value, having this equity, and then there's also a strategy, on top of that, where what certain cryptos might be more valuable at a particular time to trade with for that property. Now, that's a whole nother aspect of game theory here with this, which I'm really into, and I trade. So like, I know TA. So advising a client, okay, I think we should accept this asset here right now, and now we can also trade and swap this, and now enter it at some other time, and now increase the value. And it's the flywheel effect now of more and more wealth being moved, transferred, increased.
So one of the things I thought was really interesting, if you haven't looked at the auction yet, to be able to look at the house, look at multiple photos, Matterport tour, 3D tour, have the inspection up front. The main speed bumps that kind of slow a deal down, clog a deal down, as you guys know, dealing with inspections after you put an offer in, it makes that process seem almost backwards. You get all that data up front before you have to make any sort of commitment. Whereas in the traditional method, you're putting an offer in a house you really haven't inspected. I mean, I think a third of homes right now are not even being inspected in this market. So to be able to, it's more transparent in terms of, hey, here's the house, here's what the bumps and bruises of it, here's what it really looks like in transparency. That's a pretty exciting prospect. We've got a lot of good feedback about that. Eric, what are your thoughts about the process?
So from an auction perspective, I think it opens up markets, right? Number one, it's great. It's a great marketing tool. Let's not kid ourselves, right? It's a great marketing tool for any property owner to go down this path, A. And then B, I think the process is going to be easier, or is easier, for international buyers to participate in purchasing US-based real estate, or real estate that's NFT'd, essentially a digital transaction. So I think that those are additional benefits to the process. I guess my question to Natalia would be the question that I get, which I would throw at Natalia, is where does, and maybe there's no need for a buyer's agent or a seller's agent in this specific transaction because it's an auction. But if I had a client that wanted, and I do have a client that wants to auction their that wants to do an NFT of their property, not necessarily an auction, in Los Angeles, where do I, as an agent, even though I'm not licensed in California, that's a whole other issue. How as the seller's agent, be compensated in a transaction? And then is there a need for a buyer's agent in the transaction of purchasing the NFT? That's the overwhelming question I get from all my real estate friends.
Yeah, and thank you, Eric. And we got this question very often. And in fact, in this transaction in Tampa, we have a very traditional listing agent, and she's charging 5% commission. And after the transaction, the seller will pay the commission. We didn't have time to set up a wallet for her, so we do it automatically via smart contract, but that's on our roadmap, so that if there are agents involved, they would get their commission right away. But the good point is about the buyer agent, because the listing agent makes sense, and our current seller, they wanted to hire a listing agent so that they help her to do all the heavy listing before the auction. It means inspection reports to be done, CMA to be done, comparables to be available for all bidders in advance, open houses to be organized. Also, we listed this property on MLS 2 weeks prior the auction, so that the local community also is aware about the sale, and they get ready for the auction. So it made sense, right? It's a lot of work on the listing agent before the auction. And after that, once the sale is done, basically the listing agent just can be compensated. There is no 30 days of closing anxiety. But then the buyer agent side is interesting, because if the buyer is a crypto enthusiast who just put their money into this real estate investment and they haven't hired a buyer agent, then it seems like maybe there is no need. But we actually are asking the bidders if they have a buyer agent, so that the listing agent knows who to transfer half of their commission to.
So I have a question, Natalia. Are you guys sort of kind of acting as like that, like intermediary, where it's like if a client is being represented by an agent, you're almost sort of brokering the deal as well too, so that each side can get paid?
Yeah, that's a very good point too, where I think smart contracts will come into place. Each party involved to provide the wallet and the system to disperse the funds as per the smart contracts, as per the terms. We definitely don't want to be a company that regulates all those rules. We want to go with the current framework of work and make sure the main beneficiary of the whole innovation is the consumer. And then when consumers sees the real value of agents, such as preparing the house for the auction, and here it is, they need the listing agent. And we in fact recommend our sellers to get involved with agents. First recommendation we do is our crypto certified agent group. We definitely insist the seller from now on. We didn't do that in the past, and we saw some roadblocks when agents that have no idea about crypto suddenly get involved with the NFT, and they're very puzzled. So we recommend our sellers to hire an agent, one of those that are crypto certified.
Let me ask you another question, because obviously this is an auction, but if I have a client, and again, like I said, I do, and I'm sure there's others that may also, and the client wants to sell the property as an NFT, but maybe the buyer's agent, or maybe the buyer doesn't want to participate in purchasing as an NFT, they want to do a traditional buy. Is the seller limited in that they have to sell it as an NFT if they utilize Propy as, I guess, the service provider for the NFT transfer? Meaning, can they just go back to it? Yeah,
that's another great question. And yeah, definitely they can just go back and start accepting traditional offers via Propy offers or traditional by email. And that's the plan here, right? The listing in this for this beautiful Tampa home is listed on MLS, and there's a description on MLS that there is an auction on the 10th of February. And if there are no bidders at that day, then the next day traditional offers will be accepted and presented to the seller. So there is no limitation. It actually, this opportunity is open to both the traditional way of sales, but also to the crypto community.
Yeah, because the MLS in Florida, for those who don't know, the MLS in Florida now allows a cryptocurrency checkbox. So the seller can now accept cryptocurrency on the MLS in addition to cash, conventional, et cetera. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's very cool. Yeah. Having the ability to property and mark that you are ready to accept cryptocurrency, that's definitely a sign that we're on the path of mainstream adoption of crypto and real estate. That's fantastic.
Absolutely. Are there, I got to imagine there's a little bit of an additional fee, I'm assuming, from the seller side to NFT their property. Is that accurate? I mean, is there additional steps that they have to take? I mean, I know the answer, so it's kind of rhetorical, but I'm asking you because I know that I get that question also. So
yeah, there are terms, there are specific fees that we charge before the transaction, right after the transaction, and that's where I guess the seller gets the benefit of not having the buyer agent or having a discounted buyer agent. But most likely, you're going to see that in the next 5-10 transactions, whether our buyers are coming with agents or they're coming without agents. Because basically, if they don't need help of identifying the neighborhood and help with inspections and the closing process, they may not need agents, but we're not those who can answer these questions on behalf of buyers. We work with sellers and we see their needs, and we do highly recommend listing agents to help them prepare the house, to bring the house on chain. And our vision is that once it's NFT'd and kind of put out on chain through our legal framework, hopefully it will stay there forever, and all the secondary sales will keep occurring on blockchain.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
What other questions are you getting, Natalia, from the realtor base that you want to kind of get out?
To ask Jason and Eric, what questions?
I have a question.
Because you're quite techie, you understand that field, and I'm sure you there is still like a lot of unanswered questions. So
here's a question that I was kind of dying to ask you guys, and just like it's a great conversation piece, I think. How are we going to address some of the challenges with the Ethereum gas fees in closing a transaction?
Eric, do you want to take this question?
Well, I mean, the easiest answer is don't do it on Ethereum. You could do it on any other chain that's cheaper for the gas fee. But quite frankly, if you're doing like, I mean, it's a $500,000, $1 million transaction on Ethereum. The gas fees are negligible compared to the amount of the transaction. So a few hundred dollars. But you could do it on, let's say, like a Tesla's blockchain for 5 cents. But I don't know, Natalia, maybe you have a different answer than me.
Yeah, I would second this opinion. That it's just one record on Ethereum blockchain, which is a gas fee of $100. So it's not relevant at all. And I don't understand why people on Twitter are asking nonstop, like, okay, it's a $1 million transaction and you're going to pay $2 million in gas fee.
That's why I wanted to ask that, because so I was with my client and he was talking about that. And I was like trying to explain exactly what was said right now, but that's something I feel like everybody needs to hear, because I feel like that's something anyone who's savvy in crypto and might want to do this is going to sort of stop and think, oh gee, if I'm buying this NFT, if I'm trying to mint an NFT and I'm paying $400 on this, how much is my real estate going to cost?
Yeah.
But I'm glad we're having that conversation. And obviously all the other options we have too, as Eric was saying as well. I think it's a great conversation to have.
And by the way, there may not be some may not be crypto savvy who's listening. So a gas fee is essentially a transaction fee, right? And when Jason mentions minting it on the blockchain, that he's essentially saying giving birth to it or putting it on the blockchain so that ownership can happen on the blockchain and can be transparently tracked via blockchain technology. In order to get the transaction on blockchain, a transaction fee or a gas fee has to be paid. I just want to be clear about what that is for those who may not know.
And thank you, Jason. It's a great point you brought up. It's really important to understand for those who are new in crypto that the gas fee is not proportionate to the amount you're transferring.
Yeah.
Natalia, let me ask you something else, and Jason, because this is actually what I'm really most excited about, and this is the next layer of what Propy is doing, is the fractionalization of real estate, right? Being able to democratize ownership in real estate across borders for maybe not accredited investors for $1,000, where that home in Tampa, maybe 600,000 people can own a piece of it for $1,000 each, for example. When do you think we're going to get there with the regulation, Natalia? I mean, I know like there's like T0, like these are security offerings essentially, but do you think we're going to get to a point where that process is easy in the manner that you've done it right now with the home in Tampa?
Good question, and my answer is no. I don't see anytime soon to get securitization of real estate without complying with SEC and without making it as a security token. Whether it's sharded NFT of a whole property or issuing security tokens, it would be still a security, and it means 3-4 months of process with SEC. It's absolutely legal, just expensive, time-wise and money-wise. It costs starting from $50,000 to make all those applications, hiring the attorneys and so on. And yes, we're open to make some trophy properties into sharded NFTs at some point, maybe in a 2-3 year perspective. But there are so many awesome companies out there like Realty, Lofty on Algorand, and there will be 20 companies like that doing fractional ownership and specializing in specific areas, locations, specific types of properties. So unfortunately, Eric, the answer is no, even though we should allow anyone, not only accredited investors, anyone to build wealth on real estate. And if you cannot afford a $650,000 NFT in Tampa home, why not allow people to buy $1,000 of this home? But that's the question for regulators.
Yeah, when I did my research, I guess it was about 1.5 years or 2 years ago, it only makes sense if your property, and obviously it's usually a commercial properties, $20 million or more. Only like the $20 million or more mark does it make sense to go through the whole process that Natalia just explained with the SEC and 3 to 4 months of paperwork. Other than that, it's just not cost effective to even think about doing it. And that it kind of sucks, right? I mean, like I wish that we can open up real estate, and I mean that would help all of us as agents, right? To be able to list a property internationally for fractions of the whole of one buyer buying it, and it just opens up a floodgate of potential customers for us. But I guess no time soon.
You know, it's really interesting. Yeah. I'm sorry, Natalia, if you want to finish your thought.
Go ahead, no, Jason, go ahead.
No, so I was going to say, like, there are some interesting concepts that are coming out as far as DAOs go. It's highly experimental. So a DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization where, in essence, it could be a group of people who formulate a group and they want to invest. Now, normally, you know, in fractionalized real estate, it would be treated as a syndication. You know, as we're talking about, it would have to be regulated by the SEC. I'm really interested now because there are a lot of sort of investment as a service cryptos that are coming out now that are offering yield to anybody who buys a token, and they do the investing on their own, and they're investing in other crypto assets, and they're starting to also even branch out into the real world assets as far as real estate goes. I know the Phoenix, it's the fire token. I've been doing research on that, and they are sort of pioneering the whole investment as a service DAO. It's very new. We don't know if it's going to work. And then also too, like as you guys were saying, who knows if the SEC, which they are itching to regulate crypto, you all know that, if a DAO is going to be under syndication rules, and then that it'll put us right back into square one.
Yes, good point. let's wrap up for the Twitter live. Let's get our final thoughts about tomorrow's NFT auction, and then we'll stop streaming for Twitter and social media, and we'll stay here in the Zoom for our subscribers to answer their questions. Those of you who are on Zoom, please start asking questions. We'd love to hear from you. Eric, Jason, any final thoughts about tomorrow's auction before we stop streaming?
So, I mean, I'm just excited to actually experience it and see it. I think the press that and the attention it's been getting is invaluable, and I think it really opens up opportunities for other people who might be on the fence about this, and seeing the attention that this is getting and the exposure that your property can get now if you decide to go this route. Like I said, I have a few clients who are interested, and I've been showing them all the press clippings, all the attention it's getting, and they're highly intrigued. And I think that this really, just at its core, it provides amazing exposure to all these different properties all over the world. And that's what crypto is all about too, is bringing people in from all over the world, and not having these borders up that we experience in real life a lot of times.
Yeah, that was great. I would reiterate what Jason said, and also say that it's not every day that you get to be a part of history in the making. And this is, this is definitely history in the making for the real estate industry. And I think that everyone needs to pay attention if this is how you make a living in the real estate space, or in blockchain, or in crypto, et cetera. I think that this is something that we all need to pay attention to. You're obviously, Natalia, you're a pioneer in the space. And I'm excited because I'm a very big fan of the underlying technology of blockchain, and anything that makes my life easier or someone else's life easier is a win. And what you're setting up is, I think, a win for the real estate industry. And I want to be ahead of the curve, not behind it, which is why I'm an active participant in everything that Propy and you do. And this is just another extension of what you guys have already been pioneering in the real estate space. So congrats to you. And again, I'm really excited to see what this can do for my business, what it could do for the industry, and how it could improve inefficiencies in this space. And quite frankly, we know that NFTs for other asset classes is going to improve inefficiencies in those for those other asset classes as well, beyond real estate.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And thank you for your kind words, Eric. Thank you for being the pioneer here and joining our innovation, participating in what we're doing. And you also reminded me about the underlying fundamentals here, the blockchain. Tons of our fans on Twitter asking questions about Algorand, XRP, and other chains. And some maxis are very upset that we're not utilizing other chains. But I'd like to share that we're blockchain agnostic. We're utilizing Ethereum since 2016. And it was just easy and proven path for us to use Ethereum-based smart contracts. But we're pretty open-minded. So we may launch smart contracts and NFTs on other chain. We may make a major transition, but for each transition, we need to spend time and efforts to do so. And as we have to stay focused and innovate in the real estate per se, and not spend our time on testing other chains, that's why we're on Ethereum. But again, we also want to make sure we use the best chain available. And while there are 5 chains that we're excited about, we're also looking at how they evolve as an ecosystem, as a community, how their critical moments with technology are being solved, because this is important too. And we're seeing some chains having troubles, and we're seeing whether they respond well or not. So that's why I just wanted to give a little explanation why we're on Ethereum. And I think it's the most important part for real estate transactions is actually the stability of the network.
And I want to actually add to that, if you don't mind, taking my blockchain crypto lunatic hat off for a second. First of all, I'm a fan of all chains, or a lot of chains, not just the Ethereum chain. But if I just put my real estate hat on for a second, at the end of the day, as a real estate agent, my Jason's fiduciary responsibility are with our clients, not with a blockchain, not with a crypto community. And we need to make sure that we're giving our clients the biggest exposure. And right now, regardless of different arguments, the biggest developer community, the biggest community is around Ethereum. So would Jason and I be doing a disservice? And I'm not involved with the transaction in Tampa, but would Jason and I be doing a disservice to our client if we were to put this transaction on another chain where maybe there's not that much people paying attention to it? I'm just throwing that question out there to the community. So you always have to put yourself in someone else's shoes when you post something like that. And for me, when it comes to a real estate transaction, which we're protecting someone's probably 99 out of 100 times their most valuable asset in their life, our responsibility is to them, not to the community, not to the fact that I may have XYZ amount of holdings of Ethereum, or that I'm very, very bullish on Ethereum blockchain, which I am, by the way. So shout out to the Ethereum chain. But it's like, or other chains out there, like what's really best for our clients. So we have to put that at the forefront of our mind when we're conducting these transactions. Sorry, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Totally.
That's spot on, Eric. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. So we're stopping the streaming now. And while we're stopping, please make sure to join Twitter Spaces today at 7 p.m. EST or 4 p.m. PST. We're going to answer all the questions. So looking forward to seeing you there.